Welcome back to the Fitness, Wellness, and Longevity Podcast. Today, I had the pleasure of sitting down and talking with Chasity Snowden. I've known Chasity for many years. I've helped her out with some of her CrossFit training before. We've bumped elbows at many different CrossFit competitions as I was coaching different athletes, and she was competing as well. She has a bachelor's in exercise and health science. She's a nutrition coach. She's a 3-time regional athlete, twice on a team, and one as an individual. She also competed at the 2018 CrossFit Games in the 35 to 39 age group. She's the creator of FearLessly Authentic Movement and the owner of Chasity Snowden Coaching. This is an amazing individual who is going places. She knows about self-sacrifice. She knows about putting your head down and grinding. And this was an amazing conversation with an amazing individual. Guys, if you like this podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review, and share it with your friends because we're trying to grow the flock. Guys, enjoy today's interview with Chasity Snowden. We have a massage therapist here.
Did you know I'm a massage therapist?
Are you really? Well, we can start there.
I'm all things.
Hi, Chaz.
Hi. I may have to cross my feet.
Go right ahead. As long as you stay in that frame over there, you're good to go.
Okay.
And it tracks you too. So, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is pretty cool, huh?
Very cool.
This is the inaugural podcast within CrossFit Delray Beach here. I usually will go elsewhere or like go to those who who I'm interviewing, but I had you over here. You can sit on the big comfy couch here and we can
great.
wrap. This is pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you were just telling me that you had a bit of a mishap in the gym.
Yes.
So you also had mentioned that you're kind of changing gears in terms of what you're doing right now. So tell me more about that.
Okay, so obviously last year I went to the CrossFit Games. So for the past 5 years, it's been nonstop CrossFit training, many hours. But now I want to change my body composition. So Kyle Ruth, my coach, and I are developing a thing called the program where I'm working out in a CrossFit gym, but doing more functional bodybuilding, but also allowing me to do still some of those CrossFit things so that I don't go crazy. I get to go hard sometimes. And then I forget what it's like to go hard in a gym. So the other day, I think I went a little too hard in 95-degree weather. May have passed out, hit my head on a GHD, ended up on the floor. So, but it was great. I was literally thinking that was the best workout I had had in so long. I was so excited. I felt amazing, good music, and then I was like on the floor. Shoot. But it was good.
So let's talk a little bit about your path to this point.
Okay.
Right? I love to kind of hear people's stories and how they kind of get into places. Yet I don't like to pigeonhole them enough where they can't kind of expand on who they have been, because I think realistically, we aren't what we have been. We're kind of defined more about where we're at and where we're going to go, right?
I agree.
So you mentioned that you were at the CrossFit Games last year, but I know from knowing you that the story isn't just that. So can you like maybe give us a little snapshot of the last maybe 5 to 10 years, a little bit of kind of where you've come from to this point?
Yeah. So I'll go even back like 18 years or
You
so.
can go as far back as you
Early
like.
20s.
In the time machine we go.
Early 20s, I was very sick, overweight. I was not fit at all and had what they thought was Crohn's disease, was also diagnosed bipolar. So I was on a lot of medication, hated my life, found fruits and vegetables in a capsule, started taking those, changed a lot of my habits because my gut started feeling better, and was obsessed with getting my body fit enough to look like the girls on the magazines. So obviously the bodybuilding world was what appealed to me. About 9 years after I was diagnosed, I went from 175 pounds to 103 pounds standing on stage competing in a bodybuilding competition. It was the bikini version, or the bikini part of it. But I was so eating disordered that literally I did the morning show, puked in the middle of the day, then did the night show. Like, it was crazy. So I looked amazing, but was not healthy. And then I did a couple of those, realized I was very unhealthy in the mind and very segregated from most people, because in the bodybuilding world you are. So from there, I had a couple people mention CrossFit to me because I have a background of gymnastics when I was really young, and I just am competitive. And 6 years ago, April 7th, I walked into a gym and just asked if I could take a CrossFit class. And I literally was like, I drank the Kool-Aid, went all in, went crazy, started looking at Box Life magazines and wanted to be at the CrossFit Games. And so 9 months into that, I hired Kyle Ruth and told him I wanted to go to the CrossFit Games. He laughed, but he didn't tell me that he laughed. And then, 5 years later, we ended up making it as a master's. But it's been it's a lot in between there.
I was gonna say, like, how does that feel? Kind of, looking at that and being able to articulate that. Does it give it justice?
No. The amount of pain and suffering and moving from different places to make my dreams happen, living in situations where I had nothing. Every single thing I've done, it's like I get something in my head that I want to achieve, and I will almost die getting there. Literally almost died. Like I had adrenal fatigue trying to get to the CrossFit Games. Like I was eating disordered trying to get on stage. Like every single thing I do, I will drive my body into the ground until I make it happen.
So at this point in your career, obviously the goals have changed a little bit, but is it only about performance? Because it seems like one of the hardest things for most athletes to do is go from their identification with just being an athlete and their career based upon that, right? To, okay, where do we go now? So how do you reconcile that, and what strategies do you use, and what are you currently doing to kind of like bring that balance?
Yeah. I struggled a lot with identity. In the CrossFit world, that's just, you're surrounded by it, and that's who you are. So stepping away from being a CrossFit athlete was going to be very hard for me. And honestly, the biggest gift I was given is 2 years ago when I was with the training think tank team. We ended up being 6th at regionals and missed it by 1 place. And I was thinking this was going to be my last go trying to make the CrossFit Games, because I needed to like go be an adult and make money and do things like that, not be in a gym 24 hours a day. So it was incredible not making it, and it was such a gift because I had to go, okay, even if I did make it, I'm still got to wake up the next day and figure out who I am, and I'm not just a CrossFit athlete. And I had a conversation with Becky Konzelman, which recently passed with Faith RX, and she reminded me that my identity is in Christ, and like who I am is more about, much, much more. Like I can give more to the world than just, a number that I produce in a workout or a lift that I have. Like if, tomorrow I can't run and can't lift weights, I'm still Chasity, and I can still give a lot to this world. So it was great because then, I got Fearless tattooed on my side, and I was like, I'm done fearing and caring what people think. I'm just going to like pull the arrow back and like run toward this CrossFit thing one more time. And we decided to do that. And then I ended up making it. But then again, it was hard because once I made it, I was like, all right, check box. Now what? And what I realized is like in doing all of this, I'm very competitive. So now I am building a brand, building a business, and trying to help as many people as I can come out of the quicksand that I used to be in and the problems that I've had. And I'm finding more validation in helping other people than ever standing on a podium or being at the games. Like that was one weekend, but literally when I help somebody, that literally carries over into what they do with their children, what they do with other people. And that is what I've found value in. Not to mention it's a lot of fun, like trying to make money. I think people are scared to talk about money, but I love now my numbers are in the bank account. Like it's like, how many lives can I help and how much money can I make? And I think it's fun because it's another competition for me. And then also I'm trying to change my body composition. So that's a little harder after doing CrossFit for so long.
Yeah. So I guess we'll kind of unpack that. First part of it is how you said like paying it forward and having a greater like purpose than yourself. A lot of the time that's much easier said than done, especially when we come from such a system like CrossFit where it's catering to the biggest egos, so to speak, right? And who's going to, especially on the female side of it, who's going to have the best Instagram posts, putting their ass out there, showing their tatas, the whole thing. Because it's just statistics say that like, what are we looking at? These things catch our eye.
Yes.
So going from that to all of a sudden, I'm here to help. I'm here for something greater than myself. Is that something that's inherent in you, or is that something that you have to practice, kind of like almost like I know something's there and I'm just going to have to practice it enough times for it to become normal?
I think it depends on who you are. I think it's normal. Like, it's just innate for
Does
some
it come
people.
for you? How does it come for you? Is that normal for you to be paying it forward, or is it like, you know what, sometimes there is that egoic part of me?
I think it's normal for me to pay it forward. I think my parents, how I was raised, I'm a Southern girl that just literally was raised to take care of people. I didn't know the word no for a really long time, which was a problem because I just literally would cater to people and try to take care of people. But that was also a problem with identity too, because I didn't know who I was, because all I ever wanted to do was please other people and help them. So paying it forward and helping other people now with knowing who I am is a much different thing than what I was raised in. But I feel like the way I was raised has helped me be that, and helps me want to give to people and want to, I mean, there's a reason I went through all the crap I've been through. And I honestly think now is finally the time where I've realized why all of the bad stuff happened and the good stuff.
Yeah. So in the midst of it, did you have that perspective?
No, not at all. In the midst of it, like, I always describe it as quicksand. In the midst of it, and I think that's why I want to pay it forward, because in the midst of it, it's literally quicksand. Like, the harder I fought to get out of the stuff I was in, whether it was eating disorders or a bad relationship or identity issues or depression or anxiety or whatever it was, like, it's like you fight and fight and fight. The only way out is if somebody, like, gives you their hand and pulls you up. You have no choice. And the reason I'm a coach now and paying it forward is the people that helped me were all of my coaches. Looking back, like, even my coaches in grammar school, my coaches in high school, my bodybuilding coach, my coach that I used to go, I was so eating disordered in high school that I would go to the gym in the middle of the day and not go to the lunchroom. But that coach that was in there that would mentor me, like, changed my life. Like, all these people, my CrossFit coach, my nutrition coach, like, all of them, they changed who I was along the way. And without that, I don't think I would have gotten out of the quicksand. So I think it's just kind of pertinent and relative for me to be a coach.
Yeah, especially at this point where we're trying to marry the experiences that you had with where do I go forward?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what do I have as my tools to fall back on?
Yeah.
So there's no greater person to, teach those things than yourself, right?
Yeah.
So, you're at the CrossFit Games last year. I was there, thankfully, to watch a lot of your performances.
That was amazing.
And
so great Myra was there with me. It was much less scary to have a friendly face there with me.
Absolutely. And it's crazy because I kind of known your journey as well. And seeing you go from, like, struggling to find a gym to, oh shit, you're on a regional team, to, oh shit, you're at regionals, to, oh shit. Like, that's literally what most of your career was like, oh shit, Chasity actually did it. Oh shit, she did it again. Oh shit. So,
where did this girl come from?
Yeah, exactly. To see you at the CrossFit Games, it was like, why am I surprised at this point? You know what I mean? And I was like, wow, this person, the way I see it, and I'd love to hear your perspective, is this person has a unbelievable will and unbelievable ability to block out what very well should be deterrents and obstacles, and be like, you know what, I'm going to do me, and I don't care about what it looks like. This is what I want to do.
Yeah, that's definitely. The way you described that is amazing, because I was experiencing it, having that happen, like, just being like, oh my God, it happened. Oh my God, it happened. But, like, I always describe, and this is how I describe it for my clients too. I'm like, just tell me what the dream is. Just tell me where it is. That's your horizon. And my job as a coach is to set the buoys in between. And that way you don't drown. Because otherwise, if you're swimming toward the CrossFit Games or losing 100 pounds or whatever it is, you're going to drown. And you're not going to be able to make it. And Kyle did that for me. Kyle was literally my savior in most things. Like, he would pull me out of so much crap. And both of us would be like, holy crap, it happened. He and I both would be like, how did we get here? And, I mean, I don't know. I don't know why we all go, wow, how did we get here? Because it just keeps happening over and over again. But I think Kyle sees it now more than I have seen it. I see it more actually doing these podcasts and talking about my story more. But he's like, you just don't give up. You whatever you set your mind to, it doesn't matter what I tell you to do. But I have the ability to follow direction and be coachable. And I think that's something that a lot of people aren't able to do. They think they know what they should do. And I literally have no idea what Kyle would program for me. I would show up to the gym, do it. And I have so many of my clients that want to know, like, why are you doing these macros? Well, why? And then they'll be like, well, why is my coach programming this? And I'm like, I never question. I'm like, oh, he wants me to do deficit handstand push-ups like slow on a 4 count. Okay. And I just would do it. And 6 weeks later, all of a sudden I was amazing at whatever we were trying to get me amazing at, muscle ups. And I'd be like, why did that help? I don't know. Don't care. But being coachable, I think, made a huge difference and helped me get to that point to where we were like, oh crap, it happened. I guess we just need to keep putting our head down and keep doing the work.
There are so many athletes that are out there looking for someone to, like, some kind of validation of their dream. I imagine there were situations where you sat down with not only, Kyle, but others who you probably put that dream out there. How do you balance, like, chasing your dream with being quote unquote realistic, right? Because I imagine there are probably people who said there's no way.
Yeah.
And there are probably people who said you can do it. How do you balance, like, wait a second, am I chasing something that is like I need to have egoically versus something like, yo, inside of me, I know I can do this and it doesn't really matter what anybody else says? How do you balance those two kind of opposing forces?
Honestly, with coaches. Because I feel like the only way to make life beneficial is to go from A to B. Like, if you're not chasing something, you're literally not living. So it doesn't matter if it's actually attained or because the weekend at the CrossFit Games was like, it was gone. Relative
to all the work and effort and sweat you put in the front end.
It's just, I was like, I opened my eyes and it was over with. And I was like, wow, 5 years of my life for 3 days. I mean, and some clothes, then I get to wear. I mean, that's an interesting story too, because I went into the dressing room and cried because the clothes didn't fit right. Like, still eating disordered issues. But the point is like, because of the pursuing, I literally recently just got let go from the company I was working with, and was put in a situation where I was like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And because of the skills I developed of this is the goal, this is where it doesn't matter. You just keep going. Like, you don't sit and cry and just like think things aren't going to work. I know it's going to work because I work. So the person I become in pursuing the goal was really the prize. It wasn't being at the CrossFit Games for 3 days or even being able to say I'm a CrossFit athlete. It's the fact that every single thing I learned, I'm taking forward with me and I'm giving to my clients. And realistically, the reason the Games was so beneficial for me is because people now listen to me. If I hadn't have had that 3 days standing there saying I'm a Games athlete, some people won't listen to me even though the journey was still there.
And it's almost like, I use this analogy all the time, a virgin sex therapist. How could you say that you can make it if you didn't do it yourself?
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of fakers out there who say they have these programs or they have these concepts or whatever, but if you really listen to them, it's as if they're reciting it from a book. Yes. But there's a profound difference between that and sitting down with somebody who's like, yo, I know exactly how it feels.
Yeah.
I know exactly how it feels to doubt myself. I know exactly how it feels to carry on this baggage while also pursuing your dreams.
Yeah.
So to hear you say that, that's, a very profound thing. And I think all coaches kind of need to reassess that at any given time. Am I speaking someone else's words or are these really my words?
Absolutely. I think the best coaches are the ones that have gone through a lot and you teach what you have already learned. And because I always say, like, I have no problem not being the best nutrition coach in the world. Like, I'm not the most knowledgeable, but I've probably been through emotionally what most people haven't been through. And that are coaches, and what most people in the world don't admit to until I show them and give them a mirror. And mirrors are so valuable, and usually you can't see what's in you until someone else actually has it. And the best coaches are the ones that they're willing to be like, I don't know this, hold on, I'm here for you, I'm gonna go figure it out. Like, I have no problem with that. And I have a million different resources and people that are brilliant. Also, there's the internet, there's books, but I can be a coach and be like, these are the emotional things that you're going through. This is why this is in the way. We're going to still move toward this goal. I'm going to find the information we need. Then we're going to apply it. Then I'm going to kick your tail and make you do it. Like, that is what the coolest thing about being Kyle's client as well is he did that. Like, he'd be like, I don't know what's going on with your back, let's figure it out. Like, try this, okay, that didn't work, okay, let's try this, that didn't work. And we would rehab something, and I just had full trust in him, and things just got better, and just things just would heal, and I just kept getting better, and I keep PRing, and it was just crazy. He's like, how did this happen? I'm like, I don't know. But I do think that the best coaches are the ones that have been through the most and are willing to talk about it. That's the other thing.
So what inside of you allows you to be here talking about it? Because there's a lot of people who hide and they go, not me. I'm not okay with that. What inside of you, or what things have you gone through to say, hey, you know what? Though I've gone through these things aren't me.
Oh, that's a good statement. Good job there.
I kind of do this for a living.
Yeah. Oh, right? Though I do these things aren't me. Oh my gosh, yeah. Honestly, it's been like peeling an onion. So I always describe my eating disorder as I didn't come out and say, hey, by the way, I threw my food up yesterday. That took years. First, it was like, I kind of have an issue. I'm uncomfortable in my skin. Then the next day might be like, oh, wow, when I go eat with people, I notice what they're eating. Like, I would peel the onion. And then finally, it was like, I went to Warrior for Women with Garrett J. White and went through an experience, got coached by them. And his statement of the most powerful person in the room is the one that doesn't have anything to hide literally hit me like a ton of it was just like my chest like caved in. Everything changed for me, and I was like, I'm done. I've been hiding so much for so long, and I don't care anymore. If I'm really going to be fearless and I'm really going to be like, I don't care what people think, then I have to say who I am. And so that's where the brand came, Fearlessly Authentic, because immediately after that, I went and had Authentic tattooed on my arm. And I was like, I'm done. I'm going to be the person that just says who I am. And if it hurts somebody by hearing that, well, then I don't understand why it would. But in my mind, it would help more people, because I knew if I was going through things, other people were. And if I could be the voice, they might be able to say it too. And I was allowed, by saying what I was going through, to put the sandbag down. Otherwise, I was holding it. And that way I could set myself free of all that pain and let it go. And literally, the moment that I did that and decided to say it out loud, I haven't had issues with eating disorders anymore. But I had to voice it first. But I mean, that's the whole premise behind like AA and EDA. Like, they're like, that's why you say I'm an alcoholic, I'm an eating disorder person, like whatever. Like, you almost have to get it out and say it out there in order to put it down.
Got it. So kind of going back to the premise that we were talking about before, in terms of like, you are here, you are this, you aren't your eating disorder.
Right.
How do you distinguish between the two? Because I think what happens sometimes with some people is they pigeonhole themselves because they're like, oh, well, I'm my eating disorder, I can't do this, where it seems like you have a transcendence of those things. What makes you different? What makes your strategies, what makes your way of going about things enable you to transcend that old story?
I think it's because I don't stop. Most people, even inside, I know a lot of people that have been through AA and things like that. They still keep going back and saying, I am an alcoholic, I am eating disordered. I went through EDA and I've gone through things, but I keep moving forward. I'm not, it's like, I don't say I am 18. I was 18. Like, you can go through things, be inside of it, then set it down and walk away from it. And I still know the emotions. I still have that all that experience that I can help people and I can see people, but that's not who I am anymore. I don't consider myself eating disordered. I consider myself now at just having a few issues with body composition. And it's no longer like, even that, my body composition is not me anymore. I'm Chasity. Like, I'm not whatever percentage my body fat is or what I want to lose. Now I look at it as the horizon, something to change.
One of the hardest things that comes to mind when I not only speak to myself, but speak to others about eating disorders in particular, is that unlike alcohol, unlike sex addicts, unlike whatever other addictions that are prevalent in society, eating disorders are the only one where you actually have to keep doing the thing. Mm-hmm. So what would you say to those who are going through eating disorders, but also are like, listen, I do have this part of me that says I want to be the best version of myself. I want to lose weight. I want to look better, but I know it's a slippery slope. Yeah. What advice can you give to those?
First advice, I would say get a coach. You need to constantly have someone checking your brain. That's one of the biggest things.
So that outside perspective, allowing you to have that reflective time, and like, hey, am I really doing this? Or is this like, oh, I'm kind of falling in a pattern?
Right. And someone that is willing to call you on your crap. Like, they're willing to be like, no, you don't need to do intermittent fasting. You're asking me about intermittent fasting because you want to binge in the evening. Like, that's why a lot of eating disordered people like that. But, I mean, it's just something where you need a coach, and then you need to make sure that you constantly are checking your own brain, journaling. Also, one of the big things is macros for me. I have a lot of people that tell me they want to, why can't they do intuitive eating? And, don't you think that macros are just for a time and then you can intuitively eat? Well, if you've had a past where food is something that controls you, that's like saying, well, you're an alcoholic. Yeah, you can have a beer here and there. Like, macros for me were a way to control it, but to have freedom. So no longer was a cookie a problem. It was just a cookie. I just ate it. I didn't need the whole sleeve and jump off a bridge. So you have to keep in mind what works for you. Some people, it's not macros. But for me, that's what worked. And then also know that the pursuit of changing your body and becoming healthier or becoming physically better is not a bad thing. It's a good thing to want to do that. It's not a good thing to want to sit around and eat trash all the time. And so even if it is a control, you just constantly have to check yourself. And my only way to do it, I have to have a coach, because I know in my brain it's a little squirrely.
Yeah.
It just is. And I've accepted that. Every time I have someone check me, though, and someone say, maybe we should look at this. Maybe you shouldn't go down this extreme rabbit hole of what you're trying to pursue. Take a step back. Look at it. Look at your progress. Then my brain changes. So that's what I think is the difference. Is most people, Kyle's been my coach for 6 years. I think most people think that the pursuit of the goal is 3 months and, okay, I'm done and here we go. But when you have things that you need to change inside your brain, it takes a long time. I have all kinds of coaches. I have brain coaches that are changing my brain. I have, nutrition coaches. And I'm constantly pursuing people that are better than me. So I think that as long as you do that, you'll be in a good place.
I think that's like just a wonderful way of thinking about it and talking about it. It seems like, your ability to be introspective and to be self-aware allows for all of those things, right? I think that one of the biggest hurdles that most people have is they don't understand that the cause and the solution to their problems is themselves.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. They don't take the initiative or the responsibility to say, it's me. And it's funny, inside the warrior movement, I learned a lot about the difference between...
Can you tell me a little more about that?
Yeah. But I learned a lot about facts and stories. And what I realized is most people live in the stories that they've developed, and then they change their life in order to make themselves right, according to those stories. Well, and then those stories, most of the time, are not leading them toward the goal that they want. They're leading them away from it. And I'm like, well... Yeah.
How's that working for you?
That doesn't work very well. So I point out the facts for people a lot of times, and I learned it through Warrior. And also through my brain coach. You point out the facts for people, and all of a sudden the emotion like leaves, and they're like, whoa. And then their stories can be changed, and then they can change their stories to align with what they want. Because literally life is just anything you want. You can change it and move. I mean, just because you're going toward a target immediately, if you decide you want to change the target, change who you are, you can do it immediately. And people live inside these boxes that this is what I was made, this is where I have to live, and you don't have to do that. You can completely change your life in a moment and go in a different direction if you decide, if you want to do the work.
What holds people back?
I think honestly it's the stories that they tell themselves about themselves, but it's also what the preconceived notion of what people think they should be. The people in their life, their families, this and that. The warrior movement, it's pretty incredible. Garrett J. White is the creator of Wake Up Warrior, and he opened it up. It's only for men.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's only for men. So he opened it up to women for one time, and there was 300 of us that got to go through it. And then there was about 50 or 60 of us that were in the accelerated program. So I went through the accelerated program. And it's literally like going to war every day. Like they have assignments, they have all these things you have to do every day. And it's like getting hit in the face every day with every single story you thought you had about
some brain
yourself.
boot camp, basically. It's
is.
whipping yourself into place. It's that giving you tools, but also accountability and space and support and breaking you down to be like, I'm done. And that's, and you know, it's interesting when you think about it, like what boot camp is for, let's say, any kind of military action. They're trying to strip you down to a point where you surrender.
Yes.
Do you feel like that kind of was the same concept of this?
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, there was a physical aspect to it too. When we had one excursion thing where we went and they made us run and stuff. It was a lot easier for me physically, but the things they were saying to you, because they knew you so well while you were doing physical things, like all of a sudden a sandbag became a lot heavier, which was interesting to me, because in training for CrossFit, if you're going through things, the workouts become harder. And I knew that, but it was funny how much going through that process I learned, even when you're in the physical or the emotional, if you run through, they would make you like run through it. You couldn't walk away from it. And they would force you to run through it. And as you ran through it, it's almost like it would explode and make you weaker, but then immediately you were stronger because it like cleared all the trash in front of you and all of the fog.
I call it baptism by fire.
Yeah. It also reminded me the same feeling. I used to have panic attacks, and it reminded me a lot of panic attacks, which people think panic attacks are bad, and they try to run away from them by taking a Xanax and all this stuff, and I used to do the same. But every time I allowed myself to go through a panic attack on the other side, I felt amazing. And it was like, I was like, oh, I wanted to feel this way for weeks. And this stuff was building, and my body was like resetting itself. And I think that's the only thing I could liken it to was panic attacks. But it was rough. It was good, though. I went through a lot in Warrior. And then I actually hired one of the Warrior women coaches afterwards and went through another section with her for 3 months.
Oh, wow. How long ago was this?
Like 6 months ago.
Nice.
Yeah, so it was like games, went into Warrior, did that, and then went out and then did 3 months with my new coach. I just finished with her.
So was this kind of like an inevitable next step in your mind of like, as you had accomplished that goal of CrossFit, you were like already kind of like, what's next? Or was there some kind of catalyst for this?
Actually, Jason Phillips was the catalyst. He was being trained by Garrett at the time, and that was his business coach. And so he was like, I was like his right-hand person. So he was like, if I'm going to talk and think this way, I want you to talk and think the same way that I do. He sent me a video, and I was like, dude, I'm in. I need something. This is awesome. Because their editing and videos are amazing.
Yeah.
But
you haven't seen my videos and editing yet. I mean, I have this amazing studio here.
This is amazing.
Heart massage therapy suite. AC works most of the time.
Yeah.
This couch here.
All these amazing books.
I know. I like to surround myself with leather-bound books, make myself feel a little smarter. I don't
understand.
I've you know what? I've actually read most of these books, believe it or not.
I'm the same. I have books everywhere in my house.
I'm not a great reader, and but I just love the feel of like getting into a book and being able to kind of churn through it, especially when there's a book where you're like, I'm reading this cover to cover. Like, speaking of which, that's a great topic. What are some of the things you read?
Honestly, I read whatever I'm
and by the way,
chasing.
read also includes listening to audiobooks as well.
Yes.
I'm not one of those people where, well, I am one of those people like, I read this book. Well, I really listened to it, but
Right.
Recently, what do you got your head wrapped around?
Recently, Relentless by Tim Grover was great, and Loving What Is. Oh, what is her name? I just lost her name. It was amazing. But actually, Garrett was trained by the lady that wrote that book.
Oh, wow.
So it's the same thing about how to change your brain. The stack that Garrett makes people go through to like create a problem. You have a problem and you go through it and analyze it, release the rage, all kinds of stuff. If you go read her book, it's kind of the same ideas. Really great. And then, of course, I'm building brands, so I'm reading some Russell Brunson stuff.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that's great.
Yeah.
And Garrett's recent book that he released, actually one of the best books I've read recently was Be the Man. It was awesome. And it's by Garrett J. White. And let's see, what else? I always am reading some kind of Christian book, something inspirational in that, or like learning about Christianity. And then I listen to a lot of audibles too. Oh, my new one is I'm kind of obsessed with Grant Cardone. I really love him right now. He's kind of like my little spirit animal.
Aw.
I went to his 10X convention and he runs around, jumps out of planes. I'm like, I just want to hang out with this guy and be with
Some
this
energy
guy.
on that guy, huh?
Oh, he's amazing. He reminds me of me when I'm like just on fire and people are like, how much caffeine have you had? And I'm like, no, this is just life. But, I mean, I was diagnosed bipolar, don't take medication anymore. Maybe I'm a little there still, because sometimes I'm a little much for people. But he's amazing. Be Obsessed or Be Average is the book I read recently.
Yes.
It was good.
Yeah. You know, kind of as you were talking about that, it came to my mind of brand, right? And right now, you are going through the process of, I mean, you know, you've been in the world of fitness for, you know, over a decade now, right?
Oh, yeah.
So how do you distinguish yourself with the thousands of fitness gurus, experts, nutrition experts and gurus? How do you distinguish yourself amongst the crowd? And what strategies do you use as being, you know, obviously you're an entrepreneur at this point.
Yeah.
As much as people don't like to say, and I don't like that word because it sounds very, like it sounds like you would wear it on a t-shirt. And whenever I see someone wearing entrepreneur on a t-shirt, I'm like, you know, does a badass put badass on his t-shirt? That's what I say.
Right.
You know what
That's
I mean?
true.
So it's just like, just keep doing your stuff. Like, you don't see Elon Musk have entrepreneur on his t-shirt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I get it. Like, you might get it at like one of these conventions or something like that, or like a seminar. But how do you distinguish yourself in this freaking mob of experts?
It is a bit overwhelming. One thing I do is I don't look at a lot of people. It helps. Actually, funny enough, Kyle taught me that. Like immediately once I started CrossFit, I wasn't allowed to look at the leaderboard during the open. He was like, what does it matter what other people are doing? You have to do the best at what you're good at. And so I do my best not to look at other people's stuff, because then you start to compare yourself. Am I doing this right? You start doing things that don't align with what you are all about. But there is no other me, period. Just like there's no other you. And so the people that I can help are going to resonate with me and my brand. And the way I distinguish myself, honestly, is because I think I've been through more than any other person I've ever met. I relate to more people than most of the fitness gurus, because most of them, I've seen people that got themselves fat, but most people haven't had an autoimmune disease and literally struggled and thought they were going to have cancer. And most people haven't been diagnosed with mental disorders and come out on the other side because of food. Most people haven't gone fat to bikini competition to CrossFit Games. Like, I distinguish myself because I think I'm so driven, and I have the ability to drive toward one goal, and immediately once I'm done, I step off that proverbial podium and go in a completely opposite direction. I kind of feel like I'm the Madonna or Janet Jackson of the nutrition and fitness world, because a year from now, I may completely change and decide to go back to the CrossFit Games, dye my hair black, and like, I don't know, tattoo myself up. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like,
You're on your way.
You can do whatever you want. Like, and I feel like that's what they would do. That's how they stayed relevant, is because they kept changing who they were. But they weren't, I don't think that those type of people are doing that to change the person that they are. It's that they were growing and becoming someone new. It wasn't just for marketing. I didn't go through Wake Up Warrior and stop eating disorders to tattoo my arm with Authentic and talk about it to make money. That's just who I was, and that's why it was easier for me. So also, I'm not 25. So it's a lot easier to stand out and be like, hey, by the way, I'm 38. All you 40-year-olds out there, about to be there. Woohoo! So that's different. So I think I stand out because I'm me.
Yeah. I mean, that's such an amazing kind of way of thinking about it. And anybody who's listening to this probably is thinking, well, not me. You know what I mean? Like, that's easy for her to say. She's out on the other side.
Yep.
Right? So what do you say to those people who are, not quite there yet?
Well, I'm not where I want to be yet either. The journey never ends. Like, I may be in the past where you want to go, but I'm still not where I want to be. I have lots of new goals now. I've already reached all those other ones. So if you aren't where you want to be, well, quit whining about it. Get a coach and move on. Like, start moving and go where you want to go. I have a new group coaching, nutrition coaching platform that I'm doing, and coaching in groups instead of just one-on-one. One, I can charge less. Two, I think they're learning a lot faster, and they have to show up and be accountable to all these other people, which is really cool. But this girl was like, we were talking about goals and being clear and specific and what she wanted. And she was like, well, I want to look like you. And I was like, okay. And she was like, but she needs to lose like 150 pounds, like her words. She was like, but I need to lose 150 pounds. And I was like, okay. And I was like,
so
why
it's
is
almost
that
like
so
you
hard?
you also like called her out on her self-imposed limitation.
Yeah. I'm like, why is that so hard? I was like, I wanted to lose weight and I did it. What happens if you don't lose 150 pounds? You sit here and do nothing and don't lose 150 pounds. But what if you go toward it and you lose 90? Like, you're still going to be a better person. You're still going to be super happy. And guess what? The only reason to stop the pursuit at 90, if you want to lose 150 pounds, is death. Like, keep going.
Yep.
Like, that's the problem, is people just give up and they think the journey is too hard. Well, you're going to be going on a journey anyway. Just depends on what you want to do on it.
Yeah. I kind of figured that out myself in a lot of ways, where I'm like, yeah, that thing I was supposed to do 5 years ago to start, I would have been done by now.
I know, right? So true.
It's like,
that's
why
happened to me a
didn't
bunch
I
of
do?
times.
All right, so now I'm like, oh, then I'm not going to start it anyway.
You're like, oh, it'll take another 5 years. But
Yeah.
But it's true. People are so scared. I did a IGTV thing the other day, and it was all about, it's so hard for people to start, but it's easier to course correct. And I've realized that, like, I've taken so many steps where I was like, whoa, that was the wrong one. But it was so much easier because I already had the momentum, just like when you're pushing a sled. It's so hard to get that dang thing started. But once you get it started, you can push it different ways. You may run into little, like, dips and bumps, but geez, like, the getting it started is the hardest. That's why I'm like, take the step. Who cares?
Yeah.
Sign up for coaching. Sign up for the race, like, whatever it is. Like, take the jump. Quit your job. Who cares? Yeah. People think I'm crazy when I tell them to do that. But I've told clients, they're like, I hate my life. I hate my job. I'm like, quit it. Do something else. Life is so short. You do not have to fit in a box.
So, what if the obstacles that individuals kind of put in their own way are those around them? So you might have clients that you work with, and this is a perfect example of what you just mentioned. I hate my job. I want to quit it. This is making me miserable. Okay, cool. So why don't you quit? Well, I have a house, I have a family, etc.
Right.
What is your kind of approach in those situations?
Well, first I always ask, what is it that you want to do? So I try to get them thinking about, because sometimes you hate what you do because you have no idea what you want to do.
Yes.
And you might realize you like what you do if you dream and you're like, well, there's not really anything else. I actually like this. I just would like it to be different. And you can even just change their perspective. All of a sudden, their job's different and they enjoy it. But first is, what do you want to do? What do you want your life to look like? Let's put that on paper. How do you want to hang out with your kids? Do you want to be around your kids? Because some people are like, I want to go to a job. Kids are annoying. So what is it supposed to look like? Then let's figure out, how much money do you actually have to make? Who says you have to have this humongous house? What do you have to make the bills? Also, now let's look at, what in your life right now do you not have to have? And I can say that because I've been through it. I've lived in an Airbnb. I've lived in a spare bedroom. I've sold my house to live in my mom's spare bedroom to then try to move to Florida. I've lived on nothing. I've worked for meal companies because I didn't have enough money to eat. I only ate the meal company's food because I wanted to pursue the CrossFit Games. So I was like, okay, let me live in a spare bedroom and work for a meal company, work my tail off for nothing, spend money on nothing. The only clothes I would be given, or the only clothes I had was clothes I was given. Anything I wanted, I would just put on a list, and it would be like, oh, hopefully someone will buy this for me for birthday or Christmas. It was like, you don't need all the things that you think you need, and then you can have the life you want if you're willing to sacrifice and give up stuff that doesn't really matter. Most people have closets full of crap they don't need. Sell all of it. Get rid of stuff. You might even, I love my puppy, but if it came to a point of reaching my dream, I might even sell my dog, because that is something that someone else could enjoy and I could pursue my dream. You have to see what it is you want and quit complaining about it and find the way to make it happen.
Yeah. So this is something that I rarely actually talk about, but I think it elicits this for this individual conversation, and the fact that you've gone through such a process in your life. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Hopefully with a significant other. There's going to be one out there somewhere that wants to hang out with my craziness. That is probably, it's funny, that's probably the only thing that I feel like I'm missing in my life, which is interesting. Because I think when you experience anything exciting, if someone else goes, oh, this is exciting with you, even if it's a pretty view, it just makes it so much more memorable.
When I'm sitting home watching videos and laughing alone, it's like,
you're like,
you want to,
yeah. See, yeah, you totally understand. Okay. So I feel like in 10 years, I probably can find somebody that wants to hang out with me full time. But I'm a believer that every relationship ends, so it's, except for the last one. So I don't know, it might be 5 people in between there, but I will have someone in 10 years. I do believe that I will probably be along the lines of millionaire status at that point financially. I think that I will, in 10 years, still have a place in South Florida, but I don't think I'm going to be one of those people that is like, I have a mansion and I'm set up and this is my life. I think I'll have a little place and I'll be traveling. I want to fill a passport. And I will hopefully be very well known so that I can have changed more lives. I think that your paycheck is a direct reflection of how many lives you change inside of what we do. So I hope to be able to make enough money where my mom doesn't have to worry about anything. My family doesn't have to worry about anything. If my friends are like, I can't pay my mortgage, I'll be like, here, there's mortgage for a year. I want to get to that status where every person in my life has no worries. So in 10 years, I hope that happens. Kind of want a plane with Fearlessly Authentic running it in a closet. Oh, that could be a Grant Cardone problem. Been listening to too many of his books.
I hear you.
Yeah.
So how did you formulate that? I mean, obviously some of that is intrinsic. You're like, oh, those things are make me feel good. But I think a lot of people have a hard time being able to find out what they want. What do they want to do? I talked to a few people, recently who are like, I'm in this place, I'm making good money, but I know I really don't love it, but I don't know what I want to do. So how have you gotten to this point?
By doing a lot of stuff I didn't want to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's funny. I've made a few posts and people are like, you've done what? I probably have done every job out there. And it was because I was in a job I didn't necessarily like at the time. I would meet somebody and then they'd be like, well, why don't you try this? So I've done, I've been a dental office, orthodontic office manager. I had my own personal training studio, sort of. Like, I worked inside one. I was a personal trainer, personal training, sales, massage therapist for a really long time, sold cars, managed properties. I actually was a corporate flight attendant. I taught corporate flight attending school. So like, I've done
It's a lot
everything.
of shit.
Yeah, I've shrank.
I thought I did a lot of things.
I shrank fat cells for a while and ran a chiropractic office. I forget sometimes what I've done. But along the way, like, I've done so many things. So it was like I worked in an office, and I absolutely enjoyed talking to people and running things and being in charge. And then I realized I don't want to do all that, but not in heels. So I was like, okay, also, I don't want to be in an office. Like, if you tell me I have to be somewhere from 9 to 5 every single day, I want to blow my brains out. So I realized I can't do office work, and I can't be dressed up every day. I have to be in workout clothes. So then every time I would go to do a new job, it would be that. Like, I would make sure that I could have a flexible schedule. So that's kind of how I figured it out.
So you started off with this fat piece of marble, and through each one of these jobs, you just took a big old hammer to it. Boom. Okay,
Yeah.
I like this about it. Oh, I didn't like all of that. Boom, I like this about this. Boom, I didn't like that. So it's kind of whittling it down. But at no point did I hear, I wanted to make this amount of money.
No,
Right?
mine has never been about that, really.
Yeah.
It's all been about, I feel like once you find what you love to do, you'll make a lot of money because you'll be good at it and you'll want to do it.
Yeah.
But I just,
Yeah, you feel like you're going to make a lot more money doing something you want to do and have passion about
Yeah.
than you ever would in something that you're just kind of filling in the space.
yeah. And I mean, you have to be willing to do a bunch of stuff you don't like, because you won't know you don't like it until you try it. And you'll probably be really good at what you like if you try a bunch of crap you don't like, because I think everybody should wait tables. It sucks. But you learn how to deal with people, and you learn how to do things you don't want to do, like serve that person that just, like, said something rude to you. You have to be nice to people. So I think doing jobs that you don't like is just as beneficial as finding what you do like. It's all about the journey.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful piece of advice that anybody can take, regardless if they're in the fitness community or not. I know for me personally, I I use the excuse, I don't try things because what if I don't like it?
Yep. I have that a lot. I have a lot of clients that say stuff like that to me. Because, like, people always ask me what I do, and it's so hard to describe it because, yes, everyone comes to me because they're like, I want to lose weight, or I want to perform better, or I want to be healthier. Half the time, we spend 5 seconds talking about food because it's what causes the problems with the sedation mechanism that they've chose, which is food, is what we usually have to talk about. And yeah, so it's interesting talking about what I do now versus what I mean, it's just hard to describe. Also, most of what I do is just getting people to be honest with themselves.
So you're going to put that on your business card, Chasity Snowden, honesty coach?
Yeah, pretty much. I call it authentic coaching.
Wow, I like that a lot. Authenticity coach.
Yeah.
What strategies, aside from having coaches, do you use, practices that continue in that authentic state yourself?
Posting helps me.
Really?
Yeah,
So you're using this enormous monster that is social media to actually better yourself.
Yeah. I actually have, and it's funny, you have all these books around in my house. I have a bunch of books, but I do have journals. I have, like,
Wow.
tons and tons and tons of journals, and they're, like, on my shelf with ends that are, oddly enough, an arrow, because I'm just like, basically my entire life, it's like, that's kind of my thing, is like arrows. I have earrings that are arrows too. But yeah, I mean, to figure out who you are, I feel like you have to journal and write, and you have to find your voice. I was just talking to this lady about it yesterday. She was texting me, one of my clients. She was a business client. She's like, I just don't know what to post. I don't know what to say. And I'm like, then you need to say something. And she's like, but what about? And I'm like, well, what do you want to talk about? Like, the only way to figure out your brand, your voice, what you like, is to go out there and mess up and suck at it. Make a post that doesn't make sense and people get mad about. Make a post that's like, telling about yourself, and put it out there and see what happens. Worst thing that happens is you grow. good attention, bad attention. It's all online. It's all good, supposedly. Yeah. But yeah, I'm using Instagram as a way to be authentic, as a way to tell my story, as a way to journal even. All of my content is basically what I needed to hear in the moment or what I needed to hear in the past. And I word it in a way to hopefully help somebody. But to be honest, writing it is what is keeping me honest.
How do you balance the deleterious effects of social media? Do you have any strategies with that?
It's so funny. I've journaled for so long that like content comes naturally to me, and I feed my mind a lot with a lot of audibles and a lot of podcasts and books and stuff. So the easiest way for me, because obviously some days I'm like, I want to post this, and then the next day it's like you're on fire, and then for like 3 days you're like nothing. Literally nothing. So on those days where I'm like possibly manic, bipolar, here we go, like, and everything's like just flowing, I have a notes section in my phone, so I'm literally just writing content, or I video myself in the car, because a lot of times the times I'll come up with stuff is in the shower or in the car. That's where I have a highlight on my Instagram called Shower Thoughts, and that's really why, is because I would be in the shower and I'd be like, this is the time where it's quiet, and I would just come up with so many ideas, and I would get out and have to like post it. But that's one of the biggest helpful hints, is I keep notes all the time. And that way, if there's a day where I can't come up with something, I automatically can go to the notes and figure out what I want to do. And I mean, I teach people when I'm like business coaching them for nutrition coaches to batch content and to like have it weeks ahead of time or whatever. But to be honest, it's hard for me to do that. Like mine is so much of a journal of what I'm doing right now that I do have a bunch of notes and content and stuff, but when I post it, it has to pertain to me today.
Yeah. It almost feels inauthentic if you were to post it like a day or two later. Right?
It really does. Like if I'm like,
especially because I judge it too.
I'm
like, what the fuck is this?
Like,
why would I write something like this?
Yeah. And it's like,
but at the time
it makes sense. Like, right. If I'm writing about something that doesn't make sense 3 days later and I don't feel that way anymore, it doesn't work. So that's one of the reasons I don't have an Instagram. I mean, now it's a little bit flowing more, but those Instagrams that are beautiful and they have like the perfect little, like, I don't know, like the quote and then the picture, and mine is a little bit more crazy because I'm like, this is me and I'm a little crazy.
How is that received?
Seems to be okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you can judge it by likes, but
yeah, I mean, like that's one of the deleterious effects of social media that I think we get trapped in, is that like, wait a second, this person who's, you know, for lack of a better word, showing her booty hole is is getting 10 million likes, and I'm here pouring my heart and soul out.
Yeah.
And I've got 13 likes and a comment.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, that's a gut check sometimes. How do you forge ahead in those situations?
Well, and I'll be quite honest, like I post pictures in bikinis for a reason. I mean, it's just the way it is. If I can get more attention, then I can change more lives. But I think there's a way to do it in a classy way, because I am in fitness. I'm not posting a picture of a bikini just to be like I'm bending over and showing you my butt. It's like, this is me in my life. It does help that I live in Florida and I'm in a bikini a lot of times. Yeah. So I have a lot of those pictures, so it makes sense. If I lived in a very cold place and was posting pictures in bikinis, that would be weird.
Yes.
So
in the snow again, in my bikini.
Yeah,
this is my life.
It is. Ah,
so weird.
Some people do.
Yeah.
No judgment. I understand you have to have attention, but it helps. And also I have noticed I can even post like a super strong picture, but it's not my face and it's on my, and I will get like no attention. So I don't know if it's just people want to see people's faces, but if I post a picture of my face, it'll get more likes, more attention, more comments, more people will say stuff. So I try to typically put my face on there more often than not, and it seems to help. But it is hard to be like, wow, that post had, like, I'd spent time, like, that was my heart, and the guy, some weirdo, is like, sexy smile or something. I'm like, thanks, buddy. And you just have to kind of like roll with it. You know, those guys are out there. There's a ton of them.
I can't imagine
it's
what's
horrible.
going on. I mean, here's the funny thing, and this is bro science and definitely my own experience, so take everything I say with a grain of salt, is that most of the people who are interacting on social media are men.
There's a lot of men out there, yes.
There's a lot of men.
There's a lot.
Yet also, there's a lot of, homosexual men, gay men who are also soliciting other men.
Yeah.
So this is the thing that I laugh at, is because, most guys on there thinking they're like, oh man, I can't wait to get girls attracted to me by putting up, like, no, you're going to get men, lots of men who want to see you naked.
Yes.
And when people start to realize that, they go, oh shit, this is definitely a platform that's leveraged, has leverage for women.
Yes.
If done correctly, and depending upon what your goals really are.
Yeah.
I mean, I was talking to my girlfriend the other day, and she was like, yeah, most of the people that follow these women, these booty models and whatever, they're not even real. And they will have these companies come in and be like, okay, we want you to promote this product, but there's no return on investment because those people aren't actually listening to a person who's just showing their body off. So it's like that balance of like, yeah, I might not have 10 million followers, but if I say something and put something up, the followers that I have will fucking follow me.
Yes. It's so true. Like, I feel like I know, obviously I don't know all of my followers, but I genuinely take the time to communicate. They follow me. I mean, last few days with the concussion issue, I haven't done it as much, but I will, like, the new people that follow me, sometimes I'll spend time and send all of them videos saying, thank you for following me. Hopefully if you need anything, I'm here. Not like, hey, sign up for coaching. Like, I'm not trying to sell people stuff. I'm like, I'm genuinely here if you need anything. I had a girl reach out to me. She lives in Texas and she wants to move back to Florida. It had nothing to do with fitness. She was like, hey, I see you live in Florida. She and I have talked a couple times. I might be able to find her a house. Like, I think social media and connection is more than just like either a sales thing or like, hi, I'm here for a booty call. Like, to me, I'm like a collector of relationships and stories about people. And I want to know as much about you as I can. So if I need to talk back and forth a couple times, because there's some reason that you have come into my world, and it might be that I need to connect you with somebody else, and that could change your life. It might not be my services. And I think that is just as beneficial as them coming to me and me making money off of it. Like, so... But yeah, there's a lot of interesting people online. There is a lot of interesting people.
I can't imagine, with the world of being a woman on social media, especially when they're trying to build a business and have that balance of like, yo, I'm in the fitness business, so I kind of have to show you a little bit. But then I'm like, I also got to have like the creep spray.
Yeah, I do very well. I think being a massage therapist for so long, and I'm a strong woman. I have a very much like, hi, I'm friendly because I'm Southern. Oh, wait, check yourself kind of mentality. So they'll hit on me or say something, and sometimes they'll slide in the DM, and I'll be like, oh, were you looking for a coach? And they're like, no. And I was like, oh, well, that's what I'm here for, not looking for a date. Thank you. If you're looking for a coach or have friends that want a coach, I'm totally here. Or if you have questions about nutrition, because that's not sexy. They're not like, oh, she wants to get in bed with me. I'm like,
they
totally.
Just send you a bunch of eggplant emojis. It's not working for you.
Nope. And in massage therapy, I had that problem. Like, I would have guys come and they'd be like, oh, do you give happy endings and like crazy stuff? And
so,
no.
like you said, every job that you had gave you some kind of skill.
Yes.
That it's almost like I call it the Slumdog Millionaire effect.
Oh,
so like every little thing that ever happened to this kid eventually ended up having him succeed.
Exactly.
So it's like all these little things at the time you were like, why the hell is this happening to me? It's like, just wait. Just keep going. There will be a purpose for that thing.
And it's so great knowing that now. And I don't know. I think it's a gift kind of being 38. Like, because I didn't have this realization at 25. Like, now when crap happens to me, just like recently when I lost the job or whatever, then normally it would have been like 10 years ago, it would have been like, oh my gosh, why? And now it's like, ooh, why? Like,
curiosity.
Something good's going to happen. Like, ooh, what skills can I use? What can I learn? How can I build a brand? How can I move forward? Like, and so I almost like lean into bad things as excitement. Obviously, there's a point of, oh, this is sad or whatever, but then it's like the excitement builds. So that's a good perspective to have.
So if we would like to get a hold of you or, pursue some of the things that you were talking about, Chaz, what are the easiest ways to get a hold of you, and what are the, what are your services?
Currently Instagram, or my Facebook extra page. Instagram's Chasity Snowden _FLA, for Fearlessly Authentic, but it also conveniently is Florida as well. And the Facebook is Chas Snowden Nutrition Coaching. Services, I'm a nutrition coach. I do one-on-one. And inside that, you get full access to me, and we talk once a week. And also I don't do emails and stuff. I really want to get to know my clients, so they can video message me through Marco Polo. We text, but they have full access to me. And then I also just started a group coaching, where there's 8 to 10 people in a group, and I coach you all at once. It's a 3-month commitment. And I do some business coaching as well, because I was trained, and I've obviously been through a lot of businesses, and I'm building my own business, and I've built a lot of businesses. So some people really want help with that, and so they come to me. They're one-on-one typically as well, because it's just business.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Chaz, thank you so much for sitting down and talking with me. It sounds like the weather's getting a little gnarly out there.
I know, right?
So, but we do live in Florida, so wait 10 minutes and things will change. Right? Chasity Snowden, thank you so much for sitting down with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I just want to thank Chasity again for coming down and talking with me. Great conversation. And if you enjoy this conversation, we have new conversations coming out every Thursday, new interviews with amazing guests and different perspectives. And hopefully you're getting something out of them. And if you are, please subscribe, rate, review, and share this with your friend. We're trying to grow the flock as best as we can. We'll see you next time on the Fitness, Wellness, and Longevity Podcast.